When you are in transitional services, you are not a patient. You are a resident, you are a client, but not a patient. You are responsible for taking your own medication. The only thing that you have to do is, if you leave the grounds or you're going someplace, you have to tell your counselor where you're going. But you have a key to your room and you can come and go as you please. We expect that you should be able to go through all of our phases within 2 years or sooner, depending upon you.
It's much different. There's not as much fear. I was scared to death on the ward all the time. You didn't know what you were up against. Here, everybody talks. It's a different thing. It's a whole different thing. And here they try to get them ready so in the event they can have to cook for themselves or something, they can do it. They can budget, they can travel. All these things that you couldn't possibly work on inside a hospital. But I'm free to work on every other problem. And that's good. That feels good. Feels good to wake up in the morning. And the first question is not, can I have a cigarette? Just good morning. This is another thing. Nobody tells you when to take medication. You're on your own. Responsible with taking them at the proper times. Because when you leave, there's not going to be anybody to tell you when to take medication anyway.
The main therapy of this transitional program is work. Everyone must have a job of some kind, and by 9 a.m., most of the residents are gone. Harvey has a federally funded job as a maintenance man. The residents live on the Creedmoor grounds at first, then graduate to supervised apartments in the community. The first test for Harvey is to buy food and prepare a dinner for 4 people for less than $5. A counselor helps the first time.
Now I'm getting nervous. Yeah. Never nervous before the fact, but now I hope I can cook this.
You can cook that.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Look, I'll be there. You can't go wrong. I'll help you out.
I've been manic for a long time. I can remember going to school and making people laugh. And on the other hand, I can remember getting very depressed when I wouldn't show up to school. And that's been a pattern with me my whole life. I need to go slowly from a hospital to the community. I've never been able to do it because I never went slowly. You know, your person can be just as scared of getting well as they are of remaining ill. I'm terrified.
Harvey is lucky. Transitional Services is a new and rare program. There's room for only a few, and the waiting list is long. It's the kind of thing mental health planners have long envisioned, but could never get going. While most of the mentally ill in America have been released and now live in our communities, most of the money spent on mental health still goes to the hospitals.
For the last 10 years, I would look out through those gates at those bars and these tall buildings and say, that's where the crazies are. Now, what's wrong with that?
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I grew up to have that bias, just as I did, just as everyone else did. I felt the same way. In my neighborhood, there are people who are no different from the patients here, except that they have an intact family who's caring for them at home. And nobody has identified them, in quote, as a crazy. You know, they're strange, peculiar.
But they are different.
Everybody's different. I'm different. I'm sure you and I have our differences. I haven't decided whether I'm psychotic yet, and somebody else would probably have to decide that. But I'll tell you, if I was, and I may be talking to you in a rather bizarre manner, and your audience may think I'm rather bizarre, but I'm wearing a shirt, and a tie, and I shaved this morning, I look pretty good, so nobody would be afraid of me. They'd say, well, he's an interesting eccentric. If, on the other hand, I was talking to you wearing a ripped t-shirt with my breakfast on it, a pair of chinos with the fly open, you'd be scared of me. And then you'd say, gee, maybe he should be in a mental hospital. Back when I was starting psychiatry, there was no way to manage the aggressive and psychotic behavior of the patient who were then and could then be very destructive.
So they were locked up in here.
So they were locked up in here, very often naked, in their own excrement. And they had violent buildings where they put all the violent patients and all the violent staff, and those became psychopathic societies. It takes having seen it then and seeing it now to see the dramatic change that's taken place. And you don't realize it when you're working here even. Now, my citizens groups, and rightly so, would say, yeah, that's great, but you haven't gone far enough. In fact, once I was waxing about what a marvelous job we're doing, how wonderful we all are and everything like that. One of my social workers said, yeah, you're right, Bill, but we're still the cream of the crop.
What has made it possible to empty this building?
By the neuroleptic medications and the community psychiatry movement. We saw, the neuroleptics were probably the most important.
The drug.
Yeah, but the community psychiatry movement can't be demeaned in any way.
That means getting them out to the community.
Yeah, but what it means is that we really saw that we were doing bad things to these people.
Your goal is to close this whole huge plant down.
Yeah. I think it's very important to move not only the patients into the community and into clinics and into the voluntary hospitals and places like that, but to move the staff with them.
They asked me if I wanted to live out in the community. community.
You really think so?
Yeah, that's what Dr. Fromm told me. I wouldn't stay no 3-4 years no more. No, sir. Because I get too dependent on Miss Taylor, and I get so immune to the place. I don't wanna do anything about it anymore. And then my mother gets in that lazy habit. She says, stay there. She's not willing to take me home. Goodbye, Jeffrey. Listen, Jeffrey, you better get well. Goodbye, David. Where's Eddie? Goodbye, Eddie.
I'll come out to see you.
Yeah, come out on the weekend, but call me before you...
I promise I'll come out to see you some weekend.
Yeah.
As soon as I get the address and the directions, I'll be out.
But call me before you come in case I'm not there.
Bye.
Okay, goodbye.
Tiptoe through the tulips. Tiptoe through the tulips.
I want to ask you something.
Yes.
Something I'm noted for. Happy particular. Only love you, mother, darling.
Okay, bye-bye, Rosa. Take care of yourself.
Elaine is free, but her choices are few. No family, no job, no friends to welcome her. Ideally, she would be headed for a transitional program or a halfway house in her old neighborhood where she could find help to make the adjustments back to a normal life. But there are no halfway houses in her old neighborhood or just about anywhere else. She is headed for a hotel in the distant community of Far Rockaway where a few Creedmoor staff members are on hand to provide minimum care. It's either that or a lonely room in a rundown neighborhood somewhere. Elaine will be living in Central Manor, a privately owned hotel built to house former mental patients. In exchange for her $400 monthly federal check, she will get room, food, and medication. Most of the residents are older people, debilitated by the long years of illness and dependency on the wards of New York State mental institutions. More than 2,000 live in the Rockaway community.
Well, what's the procedure? I mean,
I think we're both in the dark about it.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Maxine.
Hi, how are you?
Dr. Fromm said if you have any problems, just call him about me.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't think we're going to have any problems.
No.
We'll show you where your room is, okay?
Yeah.
And then you can go into the dining room and have lunch.
Okay.
All right? Mr. Beck, you want to show her her room?
13 years ago, I worked as a correspondence clerk.
Yeah, did you like it?
Yeah, I worked my way up. I was a file clerk.
Really?
And then I became a correspondence clerk. I had an important job.
Yeah.
The thing was, I had a boyfriend then, and he planned to marry me. And he upset me, and my girlfriend upset me, and my mother upset me. So I had a nervous breakdown, and I had to leave my job. And then I got married to another guy, and I married him right away, and it didn't work out. So now I just have a mother.
Elaine can find no programs in Far Rockaway to help her adjust to her new life. So each morning she must make a 2-hour trip to Manhattan's west side. The trip is a difficult daily test of Elaine's will to be on her own. She comes to Manhattan each day because she is a member of a club that for 30 years has been a refuge for former mental patients. Elaine hopes to regain her confidence and skills with the support and friendship of others who have suffered the same fears and loneliness. The club is called Fountain House. There are 1,100 members, a great many of whom have made successful returns to a full-time job and independent living. The members train each other for jobs at New York businesses and department stores. Their work record is exceptional.
These are my friends now. Fountain House friends, yeah. My old friends are all either married or they're working, and they don't bother with me.
What will you do now that you get back here?
I'll talk to some of the girls, then I'll eat supper, then I'll smoke my cigarettes, take a shower, then wait for medication.
Where do you go, down that way?
Yeah, down this way.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
These people coming in here, walking down the street, nobody's going to talk to them. Nobody's going to have anything to do with them. They look like derelicts, most of them.
Sit on the benches. They're pitiful. They come over to you for money. They go around looking in the garbage cans. They gave them this place here to live, and frankly speaking, go by there and take a look. Your heart breaks. Your heart breaks.
If this was done in a very stable community, the community might absorb or integrate the problem, as you said. But in a community where there are so many other problems, I mean, I don't know if you know about the amount of muggings that are going on here now. It's become tremendous.
Well, all they have to do is put help, enough help in these homes to help these people. What are you going to do with these people then? Just throw them out? What are you going to do with them? You got to do something for them. They got to have some place to stay. They're human.
You think it's better for
Listen, I'd rather pay tax for a mentally sick person than to pay tax for some people that are on welfare and don't even need.
Right on.
them?
How do you tell the difference between a mental patient and a drunkard?
By your experience on the street.
Can you help me? I want to go to Manhattan State Hospital, and they won't let me go, and I can't stand it any longer. I'm sick. I have to go.
Where do you live, ma'am? Where do you live?
In the Central Manor. I can't stand it anymore.
Why can't you stand it there anymore?
I don't like it.
Why?
It's making me sick. I can't stand it.
Why?
I don't like it. That's all I can tell you.
What do they do to you?
They treat us all right, but I don't like it.
This seems like such a nicer place than the hospitals I've seen.
I want to go back to the hospital.
Do you feel better taken care of there?
Yes.
But don't you give up some freedom to go back?
No.
How long were you in the hospital?
10 months.
Was that the first time?
No, I've been in and out of hospitals all my life.
This is Elaine. Dr. Fromm? Hi, how you doing? Oh, I'm fine.
Been hearing not the best about you. What are these stories?
What stories?
I don't know that you were not acting so good. Is that true?
Oh, I just hit this woman Gussie over the head. I was thinking of Monroe Smith.
You really do believe this is best for them?
Absolutely. When I get crazy, I do not want to be crazy, locked up in Creedmoor on a ward where I can't get out of the ward or the door or anything else. I want to get crazy in a place where I got 2-bedroom room, carpet on the floor, air conditioning, where I can walk out the doorway, where I can walk onto the boardwalk, where I can be as bizarre as I want, just like anybody else in this community can be, and where I'm not going to get locked up unless I commit a crime.
But if I'm not crazy, I don't want you living next door to me.
That's your problem.
Should I not want you next to me?
Yes, you should not want me next to you because you've been brought up to think that way and because I'm not going to convince you otherwise for the next 50 to 100 years. Yes, you should.
In the next 50 to 100 years, won't a lot of people suffer because of that misunderstanding and those stereotypes?
Yep, but I'm just telling it like it is, Bill. I just don't think we're all of us at a state in our education where we can easily accept the things I'm talking about. I think that's a reality.
La da 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 dee 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 dum. La da da dee da dum. It had to be me, wonderful me. Had to be me.